Ladies and gentlemen, there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. My name is Dragon Job. I'm still joined by Skim, and we're here for game number 2 between Fire Dragoon and Clutch Gamers in ESL One SEA Dota 2 qualifiers. I got that through without flaws.
Very exciting or very enjoyable qualifiers thus far. As much fun as I have had thus far in these qualifiers, I wouldn't necessarily call them exciting because we've only had 2 O's. But again, I did mention it earlier, this has the potential to be a 2-1, just because these two teams, you know, both sort of on the up and up in some ways. And Clutch Gamers much more convincing in the last one, of course. They did sort of run away with it after about like 15 minutes. They just, you know, never really allowed Fire Dragoon to come back into the game. But it is a new game, it is a new draft, so we have a couple of changes already. OmniNut has been banned out. And we see both teams sort of resort to 2 picks that I did mention earlier, the Nightstalker and Clockwork, which we see from Geek. I like this much more. Clockwork and Nightstalker, or well, you know, for Fire Dragoon, of course, the Clockwork can be much more proactive in the early game, and I felt that this was where they were lacking. They just didn't have anything to apply a lot of pressure in like that period between landing stage and sort of like mid game. Like the 10 to 15 minute mark, nobody could do anything, and that was the one big issue that they had. Yeah, they had a farm tiny, but you know, like you pointed out, what did he really do with that farm, or what could he do with that farm? It's not that it was bad. It's just that the nature of the hero, right? Yeah. Just couldn't really do anything with it. So I like this approach already. You know, just picking the Clockwork and the Disruptor, and Clutch Gamers going for the Bane this time around.
Yeah, I mean, we've been seeing a lot of Bane always, in almost every single game, so. We all know what he's doing. We don't necessarily need to go into that, but I still want to go back to his Clockwork Disruptor because it is, as I said, it's the complete opposite, like of like an Elder Titan, right? Elder Titan just wants to have the fight kind of happen around him, but he doesn't really have any sphere of influence beyond that. He's the zoning hero, but only in a very limited area. Whereas Disruptor, Clockwork, they're different in the sense that if you're ahead enough, that you have the threat potential, that you have the damage output to put the fear into the other team, essentially, then you can still convert that into things, because you have that mobility and that ability to manipulate positioning, especially from the Disruptor, between Kinetic Field and the Glimpse, of course, and even the Clockwork, right? It's not just the hook shot, but it's also how to use the cogs afterwards. Like, you can either catch somebody inside of them, or you just walk a couple of units and then push them back even further into your team and away from the enemy. So there's like a lot of cute things that you can do here. With or without even having too many items. Like Tiny needed a Shadow Blade, but he also needed something more than that, and not to mention the rest of this team, right?
10 seconds remaining.
So yeah, it's a really good start, as you said. I concur, essentially.
I've talked to a couple of pro players, and you know, some of them like to think about heroes and their value as you know, what does this hero provide when things aren't going the right way? Yeah. What does this hero do if you're like falling behind, when you're falling, you know, when plan A goes wrong and plan B goes wrong? What does plan C for this hero look like, right? And plan C for Elder Titan is just holding high ground, and that's it. Yeah. Really. But there are heroes like Bane, like in the worst case scenario, you can still smoke up, go for a smoking, and try to fiend script killing people, right? Same with the Clockwork, you can always just hook shot people. There's a lot more ways to play these heroes, I feel. They're a little bit low risk in that regard. Sure, the reward might not always be as great as like a really strong Elder Titan player could be, just because Elder Titan can control a team fight in more ways than a Clockwork could potentially, and he also counters certain heroes immensely, you know, agility cores, of course. But in some ways, heroes like Clockwork and Nightstalker are a little bit safer. But I guess let's look at the bans. Pretty standard in some ways, you know. Everybody obviously is looking towards those cores right now, because as it looks, or as it seems, supports have been picked for now. Don't really want to. I don't think either team looks at the hero list right now and thinks to himself, well, there's one support that I guess they could pick, but we totally have to ban it. Yeah. I don't really think that there's anything in the pool that you really need to remove, unless you have like a certain, like if you're planning on picking Huskar, maybe remove the AA. But generally speaking, I think you're good to go just banning the cores. So that is what those teams are deciding to do. And Clutch remove the SF because they don't want to deal with the Clockwork combo.
Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully your mic doesn't crap out.
Yeah, that was weird. I didn't even change anything.
Yeah, I know. But Yeah, they take out the ESF. I was actually going to bring up the Darkseer as a potential extra ban. They were taking some time to think about it, but if you're focusing on banning out these kind of classic combos, then it's Clockwork SF because of the cogs, and then it's also disrupt the Darkseer just with the ability to really make sure to keep people in an area, just vacuum them back into the kinetic field, even if the timing is slightly off. And then you have the Static Storm going on top of the wall illusions and everything, bashing away at you, which is extremely powerful. Especially if they also go for heroes. They can also combo up with a vacuum, like an Earth Spirit here. They go back to it anyway. Powerful in its own right, so a lot of silences to work with already here for Fire Dragoon, which kind of makes it tricky to... It's kind of pseudo-banning some of these other mid-cores, especially that we've seen, like a Queen of Pain. In this game, that as well as the Park has been banned out normally anyways, but it's something worth thinking about.
At the very least, even if those heroes weren't banned, right? At the very least, it makes you think twice about picking them.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to pick a Puck, again, if it was still available, do you want to pick a Puck into a Disruptor or an Earth Spirit, and an Earth Spirit? Not really, but yeah. It definitely... I don't know, it's a good pickup for Fire Dragoon just because I think they have a lot of early game aggression now. It's sort of like the complete opposite from the last game. They have a lot of killing potential with a couple of heroes, like, you know, the Earth Spirit together with the Clockwork. They can potentially go for solo kills here for sure. Then of course you have the OD on top of it as well. The OD though, you know, more of a classic sort of carry type of mid laner or laner in general. You know, he will in most cases we'll see still a Midas and just fall back into the jungle, similar to what we've seen from the Invoker, except that he can't really join fights as easily, but he just transitions into like a hard carry in a way. So I like that pickup a lot, and it also what I think is also underrated is the fact that he actually has the defensive capabilities of the Astral Imprisonment, which makes him a very good secondary core. I don't think OD is necessarily that strong as a primary core, but I think as a secondary core, I think he has a lot of value.
Yeah, I mean, as a primary core, like, it's the one big damage healer. He only works in certain timings because his damage is coming from the Arcane Orb, and that is countered out by Magic Immunity. So there are ways to deal with that. But yeah, beyond that, I mean, we've seen what the Disrupting can do, even though they didn't end up winning the last game. It still went a long way of making sure that they don't get completely dumped at the laning stage with the defensive uses of that. And as I said, OD is very similar in that regard. But now, Clutch Gamers got themselves the Underlord, one of these very solid cores. I believe we saw that yesterday, and you said that it's a bit of a non-pick because it also doesn't really give too much away. It just does what it does, what offlaners are supposed to do, like provide a bit of lockdown with the roots. Always useful to have a decent amount of damage with a Firestorm. The taxi service can also find creative ways to do that, and you're turning into this big tanky slug with your items, right? With the mechanism into guarding greaves, into whatever you need here in this game. Maybe even a pipe wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. So it's, again, it is what it is, and then you have that as a frontliner for the Lone Druid on top of the bear itself, right?
About the Underlord, I do think in a lot of ways, you can compare him a little bit to the Tidehunter. They're very similar. They're like tanky heroes, difficult to bring down. They usually play utility kind of position. They provide team fight control. But the Underlord is less. It commits less to that one idea of actually team fighting and, like, you know, pushing as a team, and has a little bit more flexibility in other areas. You know, you can split push better. You can sort of. Again, you don't have that big cooldown that you rely on, right? But at the same time, obviously, he doesn't provide as good of team fight control as Tidehunter does. So. Yep. In a way, I think he's a bit of a different Tidehunter in case you don't want to commit to that five-man push. And I think it's a really good pick here because they don't really have good heroes to deal with him in the laning stage. Disruptor is not that great against Underlord, to be honest, just because Underlord is very tanky.
Yeah.
And of course, like you mentioned, together with the Lone Druid, it's a very good pair because it's a frontliner. It could provide, you know, usually he goes for the mech, like you said, or Guardian Greaves, and then later we've seen him also pick up the Crimson Guard. There's a lot of, like, these sort of like utility items that are really, really difficult to deal with. And sorry for stumbling, but there's a Jakiro pick.
Yeah, and I'm happy about that because, well, for one, it's Fire Dragoon who pick up a Fire and Ice Dragon, and it's also my hero, right? I absolutely love that. And Ajit picking it up. Surely they can switch, right?
It's most likely going to be one position. Jakiro.
Yeah, right. I mean,
Yeah. Or actually, well, it probably is actually mid Jakiro. You want the Jakiro against the TA.
Yeah.
Liquid fire just melts through the refraction.
That I like even more because most of the Jakiros that we've seen, at least in one of the games that I've casted, end up being in that support role, which is fine, right? He does what he does. But if you run him as a core, you can do so much more with it. And stop me if I'm going into too much detail. But the thing is with Jakiro is all of his spells at level 1 absolute garbage, but after that they start scaling extremely well. Where is he here? So starting just with the liquid fire, but most importantly the dual breath and even the ice path. So if you get these early levels into him, you also start getting levels into ice path that you normally skip, and that's a low cooldown control spell, right? On top of everything else that you have. Like, combo that up with the disruptor later down the line. It's a ton of magic damage coming through, so it has its vulnerabilities, right? Especially with a Night Stalker on the field, can kind of roam in. He doesn't have any defensive movement abilities, so it could be an issue. But if they can get away with it, then power to them, I guess.
I keep forgetting to remind you to remove that desert terrain.
I like it.
I keep thinking to myself like, during mid-game, like, oh, you still have the desert terrain on. Anyway, TA is hiding in the trailer right now. They don't want to give away the fact that they have rotated the TA to the safe lane because they don't want to have that matchup TA versus Jakiro. That is definitely a lost lane. Jakiro actually still does fairly well against Lone Druid in a 1v1 matchup just because the liquid fire is pretty strong against the bear. But generally speaking, of course, you want to avoid that matchup as the dire side right now. OD as the primary carry now. I personally don't necessarily like it too much. I do know that pro players run this actually quite a bit. Not necessarily as a safe lane, but as a primary core. They have a lot of ways of dealing with the Lone Druid, which I really like. They've had it before, you know, the Disruptor, the Clockwork, the Earth Spirit. They have a lot of ways of jumping the jumping the Lone Druid. I just fear that they might not have enough ways to deal with the bear itself. I feel like a lot of the damage is, well, outside of the OD, what's the damage, really? That, I think, is the one issue I have. Yeah, they have the Jakiro, I guess, but against the bear, I'm not sure that's going to be enough. Well, we shall see, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, again, it can do quite a lot. It also depends on your itemization. Like, if you go Veil into Kai or something like that, you can buff it up even more. You also have that extra 8% spell amp. So it's... whether it's going to be enough to cut through the bear's health points is a different story entirely, but it's mostly going to come down to whether you can find the actual Lone Druid instead. Also, I don't know why, but my hotkeys stopped working, so I have to click the scenes manually. There we go. Try and figure that out later. Alright, so where does it leave us with these lanes? Disruptor helping out up against the Underlord as we expected.
Playing a bit of a kerfuffle. Yeah. The Night Stalker and the Earth Spirit coming in. To be expected. I wouldn't be surprised if both supports were just sitting here for the most part. They can't really do much in the other lanes. The Night Stalker, I guess, could go down there, but you really don't want to take away experience from the Underlord. And on top of that, it's really difficult to fight into this Disruptor OD. They could maybe go for the Disruptor when they hit like level 3-ish on the Night Stalker and the Underlord, but up until then it's just not really anything.
Gonna go on top here, Fly Solo, caught off guard here by the Clockwork, already level 2, and with the Earth Spirit rolling in, gonna do a lot of damage. Is it gonna be enough? Well, doesn't look like it here.
I like how Fly Solo just stopped moving. He was just standing in the middle of the lane, almost accepting death and then realizing, well, the Clockwork is actually not chasing. I guess I'm gonna survive.
Yo, why not? I'll take it. Brains evolves in valuable in these kind of things, just making sure that he can stick around. And now, did you secure the... no, Brian still got it.
Double rune. Mid lane, sort of as expected, really. Odjet is sort of not necessarily dominating this matchup, but he's, I'd say, winning it. Already forcing a respawn on the bear. Has to be careful now. He's getting caught out between the lane and the river now.
Yeah. No roots just yet. I believe you get that, what, level 3? Yeah. So that could have been a disaster if it was a little bit later in the game.
Oh, top lane! That's almost a solo kill. He's not going to get it, but that's insane. Might actually give up his life here?
Oh, extra... that's
self.
That's a self.
That's self, keeping him alive.
Ooh. At the bottom, I mean... Underlord is also having a good time compared to the Clockwork. Just hit level 3 himself.
That's why I don't think they should have the Night Stalker down here at all. He's just going to soak up experience from this. And Underlord, they don't really have a lot of kill. Oh, top lane. Fly solo should be dead here. That is our first blood indeed.
It's second time's a charm here with this particular attempt. Of course, second point up into better assault makes it much harder for Bane to survive. And this Night Stalker is thinking about maybe rotating towards there, but there's only so much he can do. At the very least, he's level 2, so you have that absolute minimum of effectiveness going into the first nighttime. But these kind of kills happening, and this Clockwork is still continuing to be an absolute nuisance in this lane. He's going to have to make something happen here sooner rather than later. Now, Earthspirit even still sticking around, revealing his presence, making sure that they cannot overcommit on this Clockwork, even with the rotation from the Disruptor.
Yeah, this is not a good laning stage for Clutch Gamer right now, because TA is not garbage, but she's really bad in dual lane scenarios. Yeah, she's doing well in terms of farm. I mean, she's at the top of CS, but she doesn't really contribute a lot to like killing potential right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not for a lack of trying. It's just that her abilities aren't necessarily made for just like setting up with like a huge like nightmare or whatever.
Yeah.
Top lane actually, they're gonna chase Fly solo again. Should probably be able to get it out.
Yeah, especially with the cogs.
Especially since TA is always going to be low on... Oh, Fly solo keeps himself alive for a little bit. At least makes it a little bit difficult.
Yeah.
But yeah, as long as TA is low on mana, there's not a lot of threat potential here for this lane. And instead, they can actually always turn onto Fly solo. So this laning stage is really rough. They can't really help out mid either, just because Jakiro is really tanky. And Lone Druid also doesn't necessarily provide a lot of killing potential, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It feels a bit weird. I would love to see them commit both supports for maybe for like an OD kill bottom. Or mid, I guess. And it looks to be mid for now. Bane is moving towards mid. Unfortunately, Night Stalker, there's the ward sitting right on top of him.
Yeah. So far, they've been able to counter that particular type of aggression out quite a bit in top lane. They're going to go 3-on-1. He's running circles, trying to just stay close to the creeps. And now with the melt, only point into it means that you can actually survive this.
I'm pretty sure if he pushes the TA away, they kill her with the cogs. If he pushes her out of the melt, they kill her.
They also have the stone now. Still invis. Another cogs. Very well timed from Cold Player, just sitting invis for as long as he can, and now invis again because the cogs have been used.
Why doesn't he push her out of the melt, please?
No, he was starting to walk, and then the cogs came out, so he melted again. This is ridiculous. There we go.
Finally.
That's what you were asking for.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it lasted forever. Curious why they didn't actually rotate anyone else in to try and help.
The fuck all Fly Solo didn't have any gold for a TP. Like he had to walk all the way from base to the mid lane and didn't have money for a TP. I don't know, this laning stage is really not going Clutch Gamer's way at all. Dragoon is just doing a really good job at applying pressure. And OD and Jakiro are completely uncontested, really. I guess the good thing that they have going for them is that Lone Druid and Underlord aren't necessarily zoned out of their lanes. Yeah, they're losing in CS, but they're still getting experience and farm. So effectively, they have two cores that are doing fairly okay, which is good, right? And they can always catch up to TA with jungle stacks. I think the one issue, though, that I have is that going into the mid game, this Clockwork is going to spell doom for them. Clockwork Earthspirit, they can roam onto the Lone Druid very, very easily.
Yep.
And with maybe one more hero, they should be able to get a kill. Speaking of kill, top lane, it's a nice glimpse into tower range as well.
Into the cogs
he might get the Clockwork!
Stick charge is keeping him alive a little bit longer. Now Calm Player is in a lot of trouble. This time he even have the center wall, so no melt shenanigans. They've learned from their previous engagement. Calm Player falls again.
This Night Stalker is dead weight. Level 2.
Yeah.
Like, he can't move anywhere. That's the issue. He can't move anywhere because he can't kill, or he can't really assist the Jakiro. He can't even zone out the Jakiro. Usually, if it's any other mid hero, you just walk up to him, hit him with Orb of Venom, and zone him out of the lane. But Jakiro actually kills you with the Liquid Fire. This is what I've been waiting for. Commit both supports for this Jakiro kill. I say kill, but are they even going to get it?
Not with the stone coming through from the Earthspirit. They're keeping him for later, or maybe setting up for right now with a Nightmare, but instead they realize, hey, we don't actually have the power to do that, especially not with all this time that we've already spent Disruptor making that extra rotation in. And yeah, it's a bit of an issue. I mean, with the Jakiro as strong as you are right now, max level Liquid Fire level 7, you can also start going into towers.
Is getting trapped in the kinetic field.
He's there too. Like, we have seen this kind of thing before. I mean, even last game, Fire Dragoon, they've pulled ahead in the early game. For the most part, there is that hook shot on to Chappie. Savage not really doing anything here with the Cox blocking himself in. It doesn't run away.
See, this is where I think things can really spiral out of control for Clutch Gamers. Yes, they have to pick. They have the sort of like comeback potential. Like if they have stacks, TA can farm them. Underlord can farm them. They can give that shared experience to the supports that have been completely starved. But for the very same reason that I was criticizing them last game, like where's the worst, or criticizing Fire Dragoon last game, where's the which hero alleviates the pressure? Which hero is just going to run around, draw the attention, create space, kill people, or at the very least apply pressure? Who is that hero? Is it the Night Stalker, level 3 Night Stalker, 8 minutes into the game? I kind of doubt it.
Yeah, that's the issue. So at that point, if they're going to have a chance to come back, then it's going to have to be down to Fire Dragoon letting them, essentially.
Exactly. And I just don't see that happening with a Clockwork Earth Spirit. Clockwork Earth Spirit is super aggressive. Wow. Yeah, he just dies underneath the tower, of course.
Yeah.
Top lane, Clockwork is baiting with the hookshot. He might not even need the hookshot, honestly, to kill his Bane. With the roll coming in.
Yeah. Misses the stun as well as the roll, though, so it's buying some space. Has to try and walk back.
They can kill the Night Stalker on top of it. They wanted to, yeah? I think they could have. Mid lane, get the Underlord.
Just going from bad to worse.
Rough. This is really rough. And they now try to force the Lone Druid versus the OD. OD versus Lone Druid is actually a surprisingly okay matchup for both sides, really. It used to be somewhat like an old counter against OD mid. You just have the Lone Druid mid. But I don't know. This feels... It feels like Clutch Gamers have no idea how to approach this game right now. They're not doing the right things. You can tell that the supports don't know what to do because they're not moving in the direction that actually does anything. Like, they're trying, like, the Bane at least, he's been trying to stack, and now he's trying to get his level 6. But the Night Stalker just doesn't know what to do. And honestly, I can't tell you either what he needs to do because Night Stalker in this game currently doesn't do anything.
He couldn't get anything done during that first night time. No. He barely got level 3 doing that. So it's...
oh, the hook shot onto the TA. Oh very greedy play. I don't think this actually does anything.
And I know the himself here, another refraction coming through. Night Stalker was also a part of that to throw in a bit of interference, but Clockwork pretty fast on his feet here with no extra slows available.
That said, a failed gank attempt here buys them another minute or two because they have to wait for hookshot to be available again. Obviously, Clockwork is going to be low HP now, so he can't really try and force anything. So it does buy them a little bit of time.
Just push the tower instead, I guess, with Jakiro.
Yeah.
They only claim tier 1 mid, so just gonna have him here, maybe 1 or 2 heroes to make sure it doesn't get picked off, but outside of that, the Liquidfire will dispatch of that very quickly. So
Clutch Gamer is fully aware of that though, and immediately rotate bottom. Like TA, as soon as she saw them up there, she immediately TPs bottom because they know, all right, we can't contest this. So instead, let's try to push, trade this tower. Oh, roll onto the Bane. Might be the sacrificial lamb here.
Gets a nightmare off. Clockwork tries to get the catch here with the cogs, with the Barrier Sword use. Not this time. Fly Solo actually sticking out of that, so he will survive. Meanwhile, down bottom, there was a TP in, I believe. Might have been cancelled here. There's nothing else happening, so tier 1 for tier 1 trade so far. But Jakiro continuing up top.
Oh, bottom lane. Roll misses yet again. They do have a hook shot. Do they need it? That's the question. It doesn't seem that way.
It's a bit interesting here to see Calm Player just continue on without support, so they isolate themselves. I don't know, just straight up dives up top.
Yep.
To Jakiro and Disrupt there, and there was a glimpse involved. You're absolutely right, they're not really... seem to be flustered.
I do think that now that the Bane is level 6, they could try and go for something. Maybe smoke up with the TA and try to go for like cheap Fiend Script kills. Because I think, as much as I think the TA needs to farm, she's the only one that can really assist the Bane in a kill. Like, you can't have the Bane rotate with the Lone Druid. You can't have the Bane rotate with the Underlord. Maybe they get a free Disruptor kill here.
Yeah. Sacrifice himself for his scary, but Jakiro just to take a Nightmare off. Sarah? Actually, still sticking around now. He's one being Fiendscope. Hookshot will cancel it after a couple of seconds. And still never right. His Fly Solo will be run down. Now to roll in. Double stun, double silence here. But across the cogs, Try will fall. The Ice Path even catching a Lone Druid on the back. They only get his bear. It's another 300 free gold here for the Clockwork. Well, don't want to call it too early, but if this game's continuing to go in this direction, we will have a game 3.
Yeah, this is totally spiraling out of control. Again, I do think they should definitely try and go for like some sort of smoke play with Bane right now. They have to wait for his ultimate to come back online, of course, but once that is online, they need to do something. They can't really force these larger 4v4 fights. They're just very unfavorable for them because they're out-leveled and out-farmed. So they need to go for something like an off-angle pickoff. Maybe even with the Night Stalker, although the Night Stalker right now, again, doesn't really do too much. But Night Stalker, Bane, TA, this has to be the triangle of doom right now. But instead, they're the ones getting hunted down.
Yeah, even on their own tier 2, glimpse back. Want to try. Can't fly across the kinetic field, unfortunately. He's gonna get brought down to 4 heroes at the same time, though. Well, Saitama, he didn't flee towards his base. Instead, he just moved on further to get rid of the creep wave, so at least his tier 2 is safe.
Really important. This is actually, yeah, it saves the tier 2. He might lose his life, but I think it's worth it. He's gonna get glimpsed.
Nice. Oh yeah, you can time that out, can you?
Yeah.
Well done indeed.
I was actually pretty lucky because he didn't see him down there at first, because he thought he was still in the tree line.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a kill. But again, he saves the tier 2 with this, and it buys some time. Like the Lone Druid can now potentially apply pressure mid. TA was able to farm in the jungle a little bit. It sucks that
4 heroes committed to that. Like 4 heroes committed to the initial kill on Night Stalker. Then they walk all the way over here to spend that time to kill another hero. So they really want this tier 2. They will get it now with this push unless it's being heavily responded to, which they don't really have the opportunity to. So it's like. And don't get anything else in return in tier 1 mid also, so very much alive and kicking. It's a race against the clock here still. Chappie is getting closer towards that Radiance, but I'm still not sure if it's gonna come out at a time when it's useful. But at the very least, you have the TA. That's kind of ace in the hole. Calm player, he's been farming up these ancient stacks, got himself some extra levels, so Meld, pretty damn strong at this point. Move the blink, you can. Maybe in solo kill heroes like Disruptor, and with a little bit of help, maybe
huge kill onto the OD.
That is straight up with the Fiend's Grip on long range. Calm players there, a couple extra right clicks, and that's a big one. But the turn on is there. Static Storm inside the cogs. No way out of this one. Calm player will give his own life for that 1-for-1 trade. So that's a message you can know for at this point here, but Fly Solo's not out of the woods just yet.
Oh, he's actually getting away, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, they're pinging him out. They know where he is, but he's just juking them. I mean, I've been calling this for like, what, 5-6 minutes now? To have the Bane and the TA be involved in these kills? They still chasing this? Apparently they are.
They want more blood, what can I say, right? Once again, it's like, they're spreading out a little bit and not really committing 4 heroes again for that.
Radiant's top tower is
They're also scattering out this extra ancient stack. They don't really have an easy way to take that themselves, unfortunately.
But yeah, you could see how different or how potent this lineup still is if they do go for these kind of kills, right? And I feel like this needs to happen more often. Obviously, they're not always going to find the OD, but even if it's the support, it just buys them a lot of time. That guy
Disruptor, yeah, a little bit too late, too far away this time to go for the glimpse play, probably, but they just nuke him down instead. So it's a bit of an issue on the Underlord if you start to fall behind, like you aren't actually all that tanky, right? I mean, doesn't even have the mechanism completed.
Oh, Clockwork. He's gonna walk up hill to see the TA, but she knows it because they have a sentry.
There's a rune. Yeah, there's a ward.
Great play. Getting out of there. There's no point in trying to bait that. Usually when you scout an Invis rune like that, you try and bait it, you know, and try and turn it into a kill, but the Clockwork is so tanky. He has a Midas, by the way. I love this. This Midas is a really good pickup. He's had such a good early game. This way he can keep up with the Lone Druid and the TA in terms of farm.
Fly Solo. Dodging out the Ice Path, but not even attempting to run away. I'm not sure what this was about. I mean, yeah, he's surely just gonna die here. There's no way through there anymore.
It would have been so hilarious if he actually survives here. Hey, 1 more second, he has Brain Sap.
Yeah. Well, meanwhile, another fight up top. There's a hook shot there onto Calm Player again. Not quite inside the stack, so still plenty of damage over time. Also with the dust. So Meld is not going to help you at all. With the banishment on, I'm not quite sure who, but to find the Ice Path on the Lone Druid. Yeah, they damaged the bear.
Alright, this is not good. They cannot afford to get picked off like this.
These 2 heroes, they need to stay alive. Or at the very least, they need to trade evenly. Because trading even at this point, if they can somehow manage that, it's a victory for Clutch Gamers.
Well,
but just being romped like that, it's...
If you look at the vision, though, it's pretty obvious that they can't... I mean, it's...
Yeah,
this is why they died.
That.
This is why they died. Because they just don't have the vision in their own jungle. Whereas the Radiant, they do have the vision there. It's very unfortunate that they died. I believe this is pre-Radiance as well, so delaying that even further. Very clutch. Get it?
See what he did there? Yeah. Good one.
I don't know. Again, it's not over by any means, and I do think that this time I do think that Fire Dragoon have played a little bit sort of more passive than I wanted them to, and I anticipated them to. So I do think that we're gonna still see like a Radiance, and we're gonna see like a pretty farm TA. But it's worrisome. It's definitely very worrisome because, of course, with Ajit they do have that intense pushing power, right? Like we've highlighted numerous times, and they've now taken 4 outer towers. 18 minutes into the game, they're really gonna force Clutch Gamers back into their own base at some point. Oh no, they were actually at 3 outer towers. This is gonna be the 4th. Sorry.
I thought they brought that down earlier, but yeah, they gotta fix that right now.
See, I also thought they brought it down earlier.
Well, again, race against the clock continues to go, and how fast are Radiance? Oh, you got it now. Alright, so at the very least you have that. We're also looking towards a Desolator for the Temple Assassin, only about 800 gold or so away. Not even that. So, yeah, you're getting these. And, oh god, yeah, this kind of helps, but pro team's on the money with that, pressing that shield ability as quickly as they can. So unless you one-shot the couriers, it's very hard to actually snipe them these days.
This Night Stalker. I feel really bad for the hero, or for the player as well. It's not even that he did anything incorrectly or that he played just really badly, it's just that the hero just doesn't really do too much right now in this kind of game. Or he couldn't really do anything in the landing stage either.
Yeah.
They're gonna go for a smoke here, because they do have the Radiance right now, and the Radiance actually does increase their killing potential. I wonder though, is this a Roshan smoke? It looks like
it, yeah. I mean, they also have that minus armor, not the craziest amounts from this later.
Scouts it out. Can they kill him on time? It looks like they can.
Yeah.
They're not gonna get there.
It is pretty fast. Night Stalker, he just slowed them down even further. They are scrambling. They are trying their best. Another rocket to confirm. It's actually not going all that down. Another static zone. Everybody on top of the magnetized Earthquake coming in with a big old damage. Aegis has fallen. Com player has snatched it even. So the last hit did go to Radiant side to finish up the clockwork. He's going to lose his life a second time. It's absolute disaster here.
It started out like a very cute play, and I almost thought it could have worked because Jakiro finds the Bane. Should be a solo kill here.
Yeah. Yeah, he's still sitting Macropire. Gappy trying to take over, but no, he's in trouble. Sarah with another ice path, and the root will not help you in that point, especially with... Nice Savage Roar, alright, never mind.
OD is here though. OD wants a piece of this.
That's
a dead lone druid. For sure now. That's the tier 2.
Yep.
At least.
I mean, at least there's no Aegis in the Radiant's hands. Yeah. So I guess that's the one silver lining.
Again, it started out like a cute play, Night Stalker scouting them out and basically confirming, alright, they're pretty much on the other side of the map. And then Bane actually did a really cute play. He waited, smoked at the shrine, and then immediately slept the OD once he TP'd in, so that delayed his impact. If the OD had been there from the get-go, I'm pretty sure Lone Druid dies even earlier, so could have been much worse. And again, it was a cute idea, but they just lacked the damage, really. Didn't really have any... If they had the Desolator, maybe it's a completely different scenario, but this TA has been starved for this entire game.
I almost thought it might have been enough here just between the Meld and the Blightstone, but evidently that wasn't the case. So yeah, still gotta get the Desolator in a couple of seconds after finishing up this creep camp. Like, there's still a way for them. I don't want to count them out just yet, because there is a lot of damage output, and you just gotta work your way up, essentially, right? You gotta try and find these supports, kill them, get out, reset for these cores, and I'm also kind of Jakir on that. He's sitting at almost 2k health points. He has Yules, 4 staff, and even drums, just to try and help him out, and that actually makes him very survivable at this point, even up against heroes like TA.
The issue I have with this right now, and I mean obviously there's still a way, But on the Radiant side, the heroes are fairly tanky. We have, we have Earthspirit, we have Clockwork, Jakiro, heroes that may seem weak, but they're actually pretty difficult to bring down. And even though you have a TA with Melt and a Desolator, you're still not going to one-shot them, or like you're going to take your time to kill those heroes, right?
Yeah.
And they don't really have a lot of like controlling abilities. They have the Pit of Malice and they have the Firestorm. That's about it. Whereas on the other side, we have the Disruption with Disruptor with the Static Storm, Kinetic Field. We have the Magnetize. There's so many crowd controlling abilities that make it easier for them to take those team fights. Whereas the Dire side, they kind of need to go for those pickoffs, because if they fight 5-on-5, they're going to get outclassed pretty much every time.
Yep. Well, no matter what you do, you also have to find them first. Both teams running around as 5. Bit of a later smoke here on the Radiant, but even that has expired by now, I believe. Yeah. So just gonna straight up push down his bottom lane. Meanwhile, they will give up the tier 2 top sooner rather than later. But if they can trade that for some good damage towards a tier 3, they'll be happy with that. But Saitama already back. Trying to slow them down as much as he can.
They glimpsed him back.
Oh my god, did
he
they
doesn't
really?
have a TP either.
No TP, no ultimate. Oh, yeah, that's annoying. Firestorm didn't even get rid of the creeper. It was coming in a little bit later. Now GTL and Jakiro just forcing it out much earlier.
Alright, looks like they're going to trade this. Lone Druid and TA are committing for this, or it looks like they're committing for this tier 3.
There's no TP on TA either, so never mind. Yeah. Maybe he gave us one over? No, Saitama's still walking. So they do lose the tier 3. God. We need picture for this. Clockwork looks like he's gonna get turned around on. Extra right clicks, they will burn him away. Meanwhile, Bane shares the same fate on the other side of the map. So Saitama trying to do what he can with that Pit of Malice and Firestorm, but Lackery just proving to be very powerful indeed with these arcane orbs. Double kill for him, looking for a third try. Even glimpse back in front of the Rex inside the kinetic field. Highback force up already. How is it looking on the inside? Well, hello, there's Jakiro. They bring down Chappie. They did finish up the melee racks at the very least. So far, so good. Meanwhile, though, back inside the Radiant base.
All truck kill.
Alacrity just keeps doing what he's been doing the entire time, just killing folks. There was a dieback involved, I believe, on Bane at the very least.
On the other Lord as well.
And on the other Lord. All right.
Oh, TA almost gets stunned from the Earthspirit. That was so close. TA just barely gets out of there. So that was really important for them. They effectively trade racks for racks, and honestly, yeah, you expend 2 buybacks, but this is worth it. This is worth it, I think, because the TA gets out of there scot-free. She's very close to her BKB, actually. The Lone Druid also pretty close to the items. Once those items are up, they can go for those trades again, and then they're going to be favorable for them, because they're going to be... The Clockwork can't do anything against them anymore.
Well, they
effectively 5 kills now for him.
Yeah. They lost him, they almost got the courier. Could have potentially wrapped around on the TA down bottom. Instead, they find Chappie. This is another dieback here. If he falls, glimpse back to the other side of the cogs, runs back into them, and... I mean, this was always a long shot for Clutch Gamers, but now you almost have to shoot it onto a completely different golf course.
Ajit already pushing the top lane. I don't see how they defend this without Lone Druid. They already had issues defending it just against the OD. But now without the Lone Druid, yeah, this is at least another lane of racks. They can go for another set just because the Lone Druid is still down for 50 seconds. And with Mega Creeps, or with almost Mega Creeps, it might just be game. There's one fight left in the
Blink Hex, Hurricane Pike. 1, 2, 3 rockets make sure that it damages. They can't even get Nightmare off. And that's the worst way to die. Good Hurricane Pikes, and there's nothing you can do against it.
Well, looks like they are committing for this range racks first, but they can still go back for the melee racks.
20 seconds on the Lone Druid timer. We'll get the tier 3 at the very least, and then I don't even know. I don't think that they have to be scared at all. We just continue even with these extra heroes coming back. There's Lackery forward, nice and static storm. When he catches the one, he is able to walk it, so I'm style out. But now Temple Assassin, they brought down Disruptor immediately. Now you need to find more with BKB to ignore the Ice Path, trying to bring down the Earth. But alright, that's 2. Can you find more? BKB has since expired, but Sarah is still very much alive. King still Lackery. Damage dealers are there, and there's nothing Temple Assassin can do against that. GG, well played is called. And yeah, we're talking about it. Game number 3. Is forced out by Fire Dragoon.
The first third game in this SEA qualifier. Even though we're seeing a third game, I feel like it's still not really like a. It hasn't really felt like a back and forth, more so than it was one stomp and then another stomp, right? Both teams pretty much won their games, not necessarily in the laning stage, but as a result of the laning stage, they just won the game. In this time around, it was just Clutch Gamers. I think it comes back to the TA pick. I think it comes back to the TA pick because the TA. Even disregarding the outboard, the Jakiro last pick, the TA just wasn't able to do anything, and it felt like almost a greedy pick as well, just because they have now Underlord, TA, and Lone Druid. All three heroes need farm. Right? They can't just do anything, so they couldn't even commit to. I mean, I mentioned it earlier, right? Smoke up with Bane, try to go for Fiend Script kills. If they have any other hero that doesn't rely on farm, they can do that much earlier. Just need levels and just go for kills. Like let's say Queen of Pain. I know Queen of Pain was banned, but let's just say Queen of Pain doesn't have any farm. She still has level 6 ultimate. It's still going to be a secure kill. TA needs farm 100% before she can commit to any of this. So.
Are you also talking about the Brewmaster? Not sure about this draft or a different game, but as a replacement to Underlord, who is also one of these heroes where you fight with your team, but you're basically only as strong as your team, right? Whereas with the Brewmaster, you have a lot more fighting potential actively rather than passively, if that makes sense.
And the certain heroes always have abilities that, in your head, that's a secure kill. Brewmaster Ultimate should be a kill all the time, right? Underlord, where's the secure kill? I do think the Underlord was a fine pick because it was a third pick anyway, and they did decide to pick the LD and the TA afterwards. But I don't know. In the grand scheme of things, I think the TA in hindsight was probably just too greedy. But also great play from Fire Dragoon, honestly. I think they played it really well. That last picture here was on the mark. That's what set it up, right? It forced these awkward lanes. It forced the TA to the safe lane into a dual lane, which you don't want in the TA. You don't want that dual lane, but you have to have that dual lane. And because of the heroes mid and the Clockwork is top, it was really difficult to gank them. Who does the Night Stalker gank in that scenario? Do you gank the Jakiro who just kills you?
Yeah, you can't gank anyone. And that was also, as you were pointing out, one of the big things in this kind of a game, right? Night Stalker with a 1-7-3 scoreline, that is not the kind of scoreline that you can get away with as a 4 position. You need to be able to set up for kills, and you need to at least get your levels to then not be absolutely useless in later parts of the game, as the Zero was in this one. But anyway, Fire Dragoon, they stave off defeat for one more game, and now both of them on match point. We'll see which one of these will move forward and which one will be eliminated in the ESL One SEA Genting qualifiers in just a couple of moments' time. For now, gonna take a short break. Stay tuned.